Hello everyone, PharmaPil welcomes you all busy people to yet another learning video. In this video, we are going to learn about the Aurobindo Pharma 483 observations. As you might be aware of the fact that couple of weeks back, USFDA has issued Form 483 to Aurobindo Pharma Unit-11. And I hope those who are working in USFDA approved plants, they might be aware of this. Well friends, Paide Vimavaram facility of the Aurobindo Pharma Unit 11 located in the Srikakulam district of Andhra Pradesh was inspected by USFDA in the last week of July from 25th of July 2022 to 1st of August 2022. It was almost 6 days audit if you exclude Saturdays and Sundays. There were 2 auditors who conducted the audit and their names were Gurlain Ulyasi and Jeffrey P. Ramondi. So guys, these 2 auditors has given 3 number of observations. So let us understand all these observations one by one. Observation number 1. Procedures for cleaning and the maintenance of equipment were deficient. Under this observation, auditor has given 2 examples. Let us see what were those. So on 25th of July 2022, auditors verified the logbook of a production equipment. Detail of the production equipment is hidden in this form as you can see on the screen. So auditors found that cleaning activity of the equipment was initiated on 2nd of July 2022, but it was not completed till 25th of July 2022 as per the logbook entry. So auditors mentioned that almost 21 days were completed but the cleaning activity was not completed. Now what I understood from this observation is that completion of the cleaning activity was not updated in the logbook. So that is the reason auditor mentioned that cleaning was not completed from 21 days. And one more thing is clear from this observation is that if we are working in a GMP environment and if we don't document any of the activity contemporaneously, then it will be considered as an activity not performed. So this was the first example mentioned under the observation number 1. Now comes the second example mentioned under the observation number 1. This example is related to the presence of a white residue and a brown rust on the equipment surfaces. So what happened during the production area round on 25th of July 2022, auditors observed white residue and a brown rust on the surface of the production equipments. So here you can see that the exact details of the equipment is hidden in the Form 483. So these were the 2 examples mentioned under the observation number 1. Observation number 2. There is a failure to thoroughly investigate any unexplained discrepancy whether or not the batches has already been distributed. Under observation number 2, auditor has given 2 examples. First one is related to the HPLC and GC instrument and second example is related to the market complaint. So let us understand first example which is related to HPLC and GC instrument. Under this observation, auditors observed that from 1st of July 2022 to 1st of August 2022, there were approximately 6,337 error messages were logged for the HPLC and GC instruments. And these HPLC and GC instruments were used for the routine release analysis and the stability sample analysis of API batches which were manufactured for the US market. Now auditors has raised a concern that for these many error messages, there was no holistic investigation was done. There was no trending of the errors was done. There was no corrective actions taken to prevent the further reoccurrences of these many errors. Along with this, auditors also pointed out that there were approximately 411 error messages logged because of the instrument failure. Approximately 13 messages were logged where the sequence stoppages because of the error and the sequences were stopped by the user. Approximately 20 messages were logged because of the communication failure. So here I want to mention one more important point is that those who have seen PharmaPil's video on the Aurobindo Pharma Unit 7 483 observations, they might remember that during the USFDA audit of Aurobindo Unit 7, somewhat similar observations were given, where number of sequence interruptions were logged during the HPLC analysis and all those interruptions were not investigated adequately. If you want to know more about the Aurobindo Unit 7 483 observations, then you can check the link given in the description. Now let us move on to the second example mentioned under the observation number 2. So as I mentioned earlier, second example is related to the market complaint. So auditors has reviewed the market complaint number MCCAD003860 and they found that this complaint was related to black particles which were observed in the finished product. And the API used for the finished product was supplied by the Aurobindo Pharma. So the finished product manufacturer has raised a complaint about the black particles to Aurobindo Pharma and they have asked Aurobindo Pharma to investigate the root cause for the presence of a black particle. But auditors found that during the investigation carried out by the Aurobindo Pharma, they have not checked the reserve sample for the presence of black particles. So guys, these were the two examples mentioned by the auditors under observation number 2. Observation number 3. The responsibilities and the procedures applicable to quality control unit were not followed fully. Well friends, under this observation, auditors mentioned that deviations were not initiated on time as mentioned in the respective SOP. So here you can see the 4 examples of deviations which were mentioned in the Form 483 with their date of observation, and all these deviations were not initiated within the stipulated time. In another example which is related to the data integrity, auditors mentioned that the laboratory data was not recorded contemporaneously as per GMP and the standard operating procedure requirements. Actually, what happened during the microbiology lab round on 25th of July 2022, auditors verified the water samples and sample receipt logbook. And they observed that the water samples were kept on the bench top from morning 10:55 am onwards, and these samples were not received till 12:48 pm. So this indicates that the laboratory data was not recorded contemporaneously as per the GMP and standard operating procedure requirements. Now comes another example mentioned under the observation number 3. This one is also related to the data integrity, where auditors observed that the entries in the equipment usage logbook were not entered contemporaneously. Actually, what happened, equipment which was used on 25th of July 2022 for the destruction of the culture media was started at around 11:16 am. However, start time for the equipment was not recorded in the logbook till 12:45 pm when auditors were taking the microbiology lab round. So guys, these were the 3 observations which were issued by USFDA to Aurobindo Pharma Unit-11 Paide Vimavaram facility. So whatever examples mentioned in the Form 483, we have understood all. If you still want more details about these observations, then you can check the link given in the description, or you can visit the USFDA website to download the Form 483. So this is it for today. Hope you have learned something new today. Bye bye and happy learning.